Jaguar's, PrettyLittleThing. What went wrong with these rebrands?
They failed in different areas. So for Pretty Little Things, it's the same thing as what I just mentioned before. It's like they put a little glaze on top of it, using words like legacy, or like they just fancy words which mean absolutely nothing. They're very subjective. They sound great, and if we were talking to our primary school teacher and showing them these words in a part of an essay, they'd be like, "Oh yes, A+." But now, how are we supposed to resonate with that? And I see a lot of brands using these kinds of words like quiet luxury, or
Sounds nice.
or like prestige or authenticity or empathy, like impact, the word that's used a lot in B2B. Impact, just the word alone, it could be Hiroshima or world peace. They both are impact. So the way that Pretty Little Things went, it just got all fuzzy. There's no connection. How do we connect? How do we relate to this brand? Like, rather than saying, hey, we're out there with a particular influencer and going down that style. Like, we want to be known for this particular style. They just went with the fuzzy. For Jaguar, well, they have built up their essence for decades. And this is what I was talking about before, right? Like the longer that you're in business, the less you're going to want to do a rebrand, unless you want to completely empty out your apartment, get rid of all the walls, get rid of like all the floors and start again. Because that's what's going to happen, like the impact within the team, customers, market value. Jaguar, it wasn't, I get their reasoning for it, that they were losing market share. People weren't buying Jaguar as much. And they wanted to reach Gen Z. They wanted to reach millennials, like the younger generation. And so they went in that direction and completely lost their essence, what it is that they stand for. Same thing is Pretty Little Things. Like, what is that essence? What do we want to connect with? For Jaguar now, they got the hype, the 5-second hype. Everyone was talking about them. But now, that legacy, that image of where we're associated to that gentlemanly, upper class, old school, like cigar smoking kind of thing. Like, there's a certain kind of vibe when you see that. When instead, what they could have done was, all right, this is our essence. This is what we stand for. These are our values. What does that look like for millennials? What does that look like for Gen Z? Who represents that? What kind of people on TikTok, on Instagram? Who can we link up with in that age range that also represent that generation's version of that? So it's still there, but you're adapting.
Yeah, it just makes no sense for anyone now.
I don't see them making their way out of it. I mean, another option that they could have done is lean into what I just mentioned before, looking at the structures. So creating a sub-brand that is that specific style. right? They're not letting go of the original brand, but they have a sub-brand, which is these modern versions of Jaguar, right? And that can have its own kind of voice. But again, like you want to kind of have that maintained either values or attribution to the core brand.
And like I mean, we've seen that Pretty Little Things and Jaguar's rebrands, they didn't work as they expected. And a lot of people talked about, they've done this wrong. It's not how they should have done it. But my question is, now that they are in it, what can they do now?
What can they do right now? Well, PrettyLittleThing is probably easier because it's just what we can see. Like the same thing is the Twitter to X. Like it's a very visual thing, right? So they could still be able to save it by going in and really defining, okay, so how do we want to be positioned in the market? What is our clear differentiation? How do we want to resonate with people differently to other clothing gear? Whether it means looking at a linking industry and kind of associating similar to Casetify. Have you heard about like that brand for phone cases?
No, I don't know this one. I know another one, but not this one. No.
So Casetify, they kind of pushed back on the phone case market where, a lot of time you can buy cheap Chinese-made phone cases. Like there was no real high-end version of phone cases, but they draw inspiration from Apple and the way Apple has done things in terms of their positioning. And Casetify leaned into the fashion industry to position their cases as a fashion accessory. And they lined up with certain like influencers. So they have like the photo with them like having a phone with that specific case, and it automatically becomes like an accessory. So you're leveling up the value of the product, the value of the brand. And by them exclusively working, like doing cases for Apple phones, again, exclusivity. It's like, we only have this type, or we only work with this person. Like, and you combine them, the more narrow that you get, like more focused you get with that kind of position, the stronger the cult fan. Because Casetify these days, they have long lines, similar to how Apple does when they drop a particular phone case. Or they do a collaboration with a fashion brand, which is their thing now. They have the long lines. So this is another way that PrettyLittleThing could take it. It's like, hey, what's a associating kind of industry that we could take from? And in terms of Jaguar, I already mentioned before, they probably have done too much damage at this point.
So you think?
But what I mentioned before would be probably the better option, that they could have taken it instead of just holding off for like 6 months and then suddenly doing this drop. My recommendation is never hold a rebrand, hold things. Put things out, like slowly implement and test out and adjust as you go. So that way, a year from now, it's going to be a completely fresh look and fresh brand, but you're not having that like ultimate shock to the customers who have been with you for so long. And you want to test it out. You want to make sure that, hey, this actually works, this actually clicks.
Thank you for tuning in. I hope that you found value. If you like this clip with Beatrice Gutknecht, the full-length episode is available here.